Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to League Racing TV here for round number 2 of the console championship in the competitive team championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action here tonight as we head to the desert in Qatar for round number 2. And, of course, having a little look at the circuit in question around Lasalle. It is a 5.4 kilometer, 3.3 mile circuit in length, 16 corners, 1 DRS zone, all the way down the start finish straight. Very, very fast flowing circuit, of course, where we're going to be seeing a fair amount of side by side action, that is for sure. And of course, the middle sector going to provide a lot of technical corners for the drivers to really stick their teeth into. Of course, key overtaking zones to look out for, of course, down in towards turn number 1. Final corner at turn 16 as well, of course, through turn 4 into turn 6 and turn 10 at the hairpins. Also, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be seeing what is going to be occurring when we head to the action out on track. But before we head to qualifying, let's take a look at our sponsors here tonight in CTC. Of course, Pivot Media, the marketing agency offering graphic and video designers to elevate your brand or business. Make sure you check their X out in the description down below. And of course, to Virtual Setup Engineer, the brand new setup shop for all of your setup needs, where they offer setups for every track, plus a custom chat box so you can customize your setup to your driving style. Now, guys, as we head into round number 2, of course, we have to look back on what happened last week in Australia. And of course, at the end, it was RGN that took the race win for Bravo Racing Club ahead of Silo in the second place, so ET8. And then, of course, we had Oscar completing the podium for Shazoo Cedars Igniters. Jude Frederick came through in P4 for EVR, then TF10 Wards in 5th, AMS Knight in 6th with Oxcu in 7th, Crowden in 8th, Finley in 9th, and of course Kevin rounding out the top 10. Outside of the top 10, of course, it was QV, Dan, Reese, Justin, Callum, and of course AMS Devils, Predestinado, Taboo Dwarf, Ortiz, all failing to see the checkered flag. So 16th down to 19th. Of course, we're hoping tonight that we get all 20 drivers. But what has that done in terms of the standings? Well, sorry, let me get the standings up real quick. My bad. Yeah, so in terms of the standards, as you can see, nothing's changed. The top 10 is the top 10 in the drivers' standings. But where things are interesting and where teams will be keeping their eyes firmly focused on is, of course, the teams championship, where we got ET8 in the lead at the end of round number 1 with 27 points, 4 points ahead of Shazoo Cedars Igniters on 23 points. 22 points for Bravo Racing Club in 3rd, with Evolution Racing in 4th place on 18 points. Then a 9-point drop back to TF10 in 5th place on 11 points, tied with All Elite Racing Team, who are also on 11 points. Idiom Motorsports there in 7th on 10 points, 9 points for Future Racing Team. Azuri Esports there on 2 points, tied with, of course, Legacy Racing there, also on 2 points as well. So that is how the standings are looking at after the end of round number 1. And of course, we are going to quickly jump onto a spectator as we just joined the lobby. But let's have a look at the driver lineup here tonight. So for Shazoo Cedars Igniters, they come through with Oscar and Volakongan. That will be the partnership there for Shazoo. ET8 coming through with Oxcu and Igor. They representing ET8 Esports. Idiom Motorsports represented by Knight and Philippe Fragzak there for AM. Evolution Racing Team, coming through with Kevin Zunberg, and of course EVR Rapids X. TF10 esports represented by Ortiz and Wards here tonight, with Bravo Racing Club coming through with Predestinato, and of course Ryzen going to be representing BRC. For All Elite Racing Team, we have Lupin and of course Langman. For Azuri Esports, we have Combo and of course Justin. They represent AZR. For FRT Future Racing Team, we have Caden and Agonize, the partnership there. And of course for Legacy Racing, we have Leroy and of course Callum going to be representing them in Qatar here tonight. Quick reminder of the point system as well here. Of course, it is 22 points for the race win, 18 points for second place, 15 points for third, 12 points for fourth, 11 for fifth, and it goes down in increments of 1 all the way down to 15th place, where of course you'll pick up that 1 solitary point. If you're 16th to 20th, no points for you unless you do pick up the fastest lap of the race point. And of course, there is a point up for grabs in qualifying as well, with the pole position point, which of course was picked up last week by Shazoo's Oscar, who of course did a fantastic lap around Australia to take pole position there and take the first point of the championship. As we wait for the drivers to join the lobby, quick reminder as well of the calendar thus far. Of course, there was a change. It was Bahrain. If you kept your eye on last week's calendar, of course, it was Bahrain for round 2, but of course that was changed to Qatar here tonight. And of course, round number 3, we will be heading to Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. So instead of Bahrain, we're here at Qatar, and honestly, in terms of a track, Qatar, very high speed, just like Bahrain. But I feel that Bahrain, in terms of a track to race at, is a top tier track, and obviously Qatar, I think we have the possibility of having a fantastic race here tonight, and that is what we are hoping for. As we have 18 of the 20 drivers in the lobby right now, so hopefully we can get the final 2 drivers in as soon as possible, so we can get going and underway for the action here in Qatar. Of course, it is a full qualifying format, so we will have Q1, Q2, and of course the top 10 shootout in Q3. So plenty of action in qualifying to stick our teeth into. And of course, 29 laps await the drivers once qualifying is over and done with. Now, for a lot of the drivers, if they get knocked out in Q1, that can really it can really hurt the momentum, I think. If you get knocked out early in qualifying, of course, you never really want to be sitting there patiently waiting to get going and get driving, because you'd rather be doing laps and making sure you got your eye in as well on the circuit. So it's going to be very important for these guys to make sure that they do get themselves into Q2 at the minimum, Q3 at the maximum, so that they can spend as much time as possible on the circuit. Just quickly having a little look at who we are missing in terms of the drivers here tonight. Again, a quick reminder of the lineup here tonight. We'll put that graphic back up on the screen. So we have both of the SCIs in here right now. We also have both of the ET8s, Alien Motorsport, both drivers represented right now. I am looking for the Red Bulls. Okay, so we got both of the Red Bulls. So LR are in right now. FRT, are they both in with Caden? Yes, both FRT drivers are in. What about Azuri? Of course, we have Combo in, and of course his teammate. We are waiting on one of the Azuri drivers, so it's unfortunate. Hopefully he's able to get in, as I believe The timer is going, so hopefully they'll be able to get themselves in during qualifying before the race and before qualifying is done, and we can get to the action out on track. I believe we are also missing. I believe it was one of the Ferraris, so potentially it could be Langman that we are potentially missing. We'll do a double check now when we head to the grid. Of course, the drivers have readied up, so we are going to be heading to the action in qualifying around this fantastic circuit here in Qatar. Again, another quick look at the circuit. 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, 16 corners, 1 DRS zone down the start finish straight, and a lot of mid and high speed corners and a few low speed corners, of course, at the hairpin. It's going to be very interesting in terms of the ERS management around here. I feel like that is going to be a key one. Of course, fuel management as well. In previous game cycles, fuel has been starting to really monitor here around Qatar, and potentially could be monitored once again. So without further ado, let us head to the track as we have Q1 underway. 18 minutes to get your lap times in, get your lap times on the board. And yes, it was Langman who we was missing. So of course Langman, and I believe as soon as I get the lineup up, there we go. Yeah, so it was of course Langman and NCR Justin who we are missing from the full 20, but we got 18 drivers here who are of course going to be looking to get their laps underway and get their qualifying going in the best possible manner right now. Of course, we are expecting drivers to set their first lap on the intermediate compounded tyres to make sure they have fresh softs available by the end. But we are seeing some drivers coming out on the set of the soft tyres, which is a little bit concerning, I'm not gonna lie. But Ryzen, the first man out on track, he's on the set of the inters. Of course, it's not going to be a representative time on the inters, but maybe as long as he can set a good lap down, he can get his eye in on the circuit, and we'll see what happens there. Of course, Callum out there on the set of the soft tyre, so his time will be the time to keep an eye on, that is for sure. Of course, I would like to ask everyone in the chat, how are you all doing, and who are you predicting to come out on top here in qualifying? What is your predictions? Who are you betting on? And what team are you supporting here tonight in Console Championship? As we come through to get this lap underway with Ryzen for Bravo Racing Club as he launches himself onto the start finish straight, DRS wide open, and now the run down in towards turn number 1, using all of the track possible down the start finish straight as we head down into the braking for turn number 1. Fourth gear, the gear choice there for Ryzen, now approaching turn number 2. Again, fourth gear, letting the car go through that corner now. Through turn number 3 on the ERS, now heading down in towards turn number 4. Fifth gear on the set the inters. The car wants to slide, but he's kept it all in check. Now, of course, turn number 6. Third gear at the hairpin, getting the car rotated. All lovely stuff right there from Ryzen. Now through turn number 7. In towards turn number 8, and now of course through turn 9 as we head through in towards turn number 10. Really need a good launch out of turn 10 as you climb towards the triple right-handers of 12, 13, and of course turn number 14. Yellow flags in sector 1 as we go through turns 15 now with Ryzen. Now the final corner, turn 16. Fourth gear, looking for the exit, looking to get the traction down, and Ryzen on the set of the intermediates is going to set the initial lap time of a 25.3. And now of course we do have a driver that's out there on the set of the sauce right now, and that's of course Callum, who has a little bit of a slipstream in front of him. He's going to come to the line and it's a 21.5. As Ward said, there's a 25.8 in behind on the set of the Inters. Well, he was just ahead of Callum on track, but Caden out of the session, and that looks to be on the exit of, yep, there it is, on the exit of turn number 14. So unfortunate for Caden, that is his qualifying session over and done with in Q1. No lap time on the board. He's down in 15th place. Of course, the bottom 3 drivers will be knocked out here in Q1, so it is very important to make sure you get yourself through into Q2 if you can. As we're seeing a lot of invalidations coming through right now, but we got some intermediate times that have come in. Knight on a 26.5, Leora on a 26.7. We're on board with Igor now. Purple sector 1 for Igor, and I believe that is his own personal purple right there, as I would expect Callum on those soft tyres to have the purple sectors thus far. Just about within the track limits then was ET8 Igor as he comes through sector 2, 1 minute, 0.3, the middle sector split, as we head into the section where we just saw Caden retire, of course, on the exit of turn 14, but through 15 we go now with Igor now towards turn number 16. Fourth gear, getting the car rotated early on the throttle on the ERS as well. Here will come the DRS, and to the line 28.5. So the first round of lap times have been completed. Of course, we have Kevin Zunberg, who is on a lap right now. Well, he's on a cooldown lap, I should say, but he's also invalidated. Everyone else is in the pit lane. Caden, though, out of the session for FRT. As we got predictions in the chat, Adam saying full TF10, hashtag full TF10, but he's saying Oscar for pole position. So that's a very honestly, I can see it. Obviously, Oscar a very quick driver, so definitely a worthy shout for pole position. We have just over 11 minutes to go here in Q1. Igor is of course on his way into the pit lane, and now the drivers will be sat there thinking when is the right time to go in terms of the final laps here in Q1, because they don't want to burn too many soft compound tyres, that is for sure. They might even prefer doing 2 runs on the same tyre, just to make sure they got tyres available for the next part of qualifying. But we have one of the Hasses coming out right now, of that is Ryzen, the first man out on track on the set of the sauce, apart from Callum's uptime that we saw earlier. And of course, Ryzen will be looking to feel the grip on the circuit as he's doing his outlaps, try and feel where he can potentially push the car to its limits. Not only in terms of what the car is capable of doing, but also in terms of what limits he can take with the circuit in question. Of course, a lot of curbs that you can ride here at Qatar, and Ryzen's going to be looking to make sure that he can take full advantage of it. He took a little bit too much of the curb there, so he'll know not to do that on his flying lap. Of course, we will stay on board with Ryzen for his flying lap. Of course, we was on board for him with the Indus lap that he did. And now we're going to see what he can do with a set of the soft compound tyres. The red wool tyres are on the Haas now. Bravo Racing Club's Ryzen now heading down in towards turn number 1 with DRS wide open. And now we're going to see just how much more grip he has through these corners. Of course, a 21.5 the lap time that has been set. That is the benchmark by Callum. Of course, representing Legacy Racing LR here tonight. We're going to see what Ryzen's first sector is. 1.7 up in the first sector. As Ryzen now comes through turn 7 in towards turn number 8 and now through turn number 9, really trying to set himself up lovely for the hard braking of turn 10, all about the exit out of 10 as we come up now through 11 and into the triple right-handers at 12, 13 and of course turn 14, and there was an improvement in the middle sector. I didn't quite catch it, but now through turns 15, throwing the car in and still has a bit of battery to play with, and he's going to get a little bit of a tow from the car up ahead as well as he comes down to the line. This could be a big for Ryzen. Opens DRS is a 20.8 from the Bravo Racing Club's Ryzen. Absolutely smashing the lap time that was set from Callum there as we're on board with Oscar. 29.7 in the first sector. Of course, Oscar, the pick in the chat to get pole position here right now, but Oscar, of course, already with a pole position to his name here in the console championship. We're going to see if he's going to be replicating the form that he showed in Australia. Of course, he was caught up in a bit of an incident at the end with, of course, the Bravo Racing Club's driver RGN, who unfortunately meant that Oscar did take a little tumble off of fighting for P1 down towards P3, but to the line will come Oscar, and it's a 20.5 just ahead of his teammate there. Volakongan in second place, 20.7 for him, a 20.5 for Oscar. As we're getting lap times coming in thick and fast now, as we have Oscar still in the pit lane, we have Combo still in the pit lane, but we have Philippe Fraxet on a lap right now, as well as Rappy X, and unfortunately for Agonize, it's an invalidation there for him. Same with Rappy X as well. But let's stay on board with Philippe Fraxet as he comes through turn number 10, just about within the limits, right there with the game as we come through now the triple right-handers of 12, 13 and 14. There's an invalidation, too much of the inside there through 14, but is still going to be good to get the lap delta on the board. So Philippe Fraxak going to come through the final corner, and in fact he's going to pull off into the pit lane. He's not going to see the end of that lap, but we have Wards on a lap right now. Of course, his previous lap time done on a set of the intermediates. Middle sector, well, final sector now. We are coming through to the final corner. I think potentially Wards might just dive it into the pit lane, and yes, he does. So we'll go on board with Knight, who was on a flying lap coming through turn number 2. Looking for a good exit as we come in towards turn number 3. A little bit of jumping around with desync right there between myself and Knight. It's unfortunate there, so we'll go to the overview shot instead of riding on board, because it can be a little bit off-putting being on board with a car that is jumping around. Of course, we have Oxku, who is also out there on track right now, as we got less than 4.5 minutes to go here in Q1. The drivers in the danger zone is, of course, ADM Motorsports, Philippe Raxak. They're down in P16. EVR Evolution Racing Teams, Rappi X, and of course, we also have Azuri's Esports combo down there in the danger zone right now, and it looks like Knight has yeah, he's bailed out of it. He knows he needed that lap time on the board, but unfortunately for him, it just was not meant to be. Ryzen retires from the session. He's happy with his lap time. So is Volakongan and Kevin and Oscar. So we're going to see just who is going to be setting the lap times alight here. Remember, with Caden out of qualifying with no lap time on the board, all Philippe, Rappi and Combo have to do is just put a lap on the board and they'll be ahead of Caden. And all they got to do is make sure they're ahead of another 2 drivers to get through into Q2. Right now, Oscar on a flying lap as we come to the middle sector split. It's a 57 flat from the ET8 driver. And unfortunately for Oscar, an invalidation there on the exit at turn 15. Heartbreak for him, and surely, yes, into the pit lane he'll go. And he'll definitely be trying his best to get himself in and out before the time runs out. As we're seeing drivers now begin to come out of the pit lane, the final lap times are about to commence. We got 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here in Q1. Right now, Oscar tops the times in Q1 at 20.5. He's happy with his time. Volakongan also happy. Ryzen also happy. Ortiz also happy. Zumberg and of course ET8's Eagle all happy with the lap times they have set right now, and there will be no improvement from those 6 drivers. But of course, with Eagle on a 21 flat, it's going to be a question of, we've got a lot of drivers that haven't set lap times yet. Can they get themselves into the 120s? Will Eagle be under pressure by the end of the session? One man who of course will be interested to see what he can do in the races. Of course, Caden, of course, the FRT driver, he is unfortunately out of the session, and I believe Predestinato is on a lap marginally up in sector 1. But yeah, we'll be interested to see what Caden does in the race. Of course, crashing out quite early in Q1 has meant that he is on the back foot now, and he's got to sit there for a long time whilst these guys are doing laps out on the circuit, getting their eye in, and that can really hinder Caden's race, as Predestinato just within the track limits on the exit of turn 15. Now for the final corner, Predestinato for Bravo Racing Club to the line. It's a 21 flat. He's just behind Eagle in terms of a lap time. As it looks like Lupin, unfortunately, he's invalidated on his lap. Wards is on a lap right now, but we'll come back to him in just a moment's time, as Combo there goes up into P9 with his 21.2. In fact, we'll stay on board with Wards, 3.6 up on his lap time as we come through turn 15 now towards the final corner at turn 16. Wards, this has been a good lap from him thus far, should see him through into Q2. The checker flag has fallen, and we're going to see what happens. Wards up in the P3, a 20.8, a great lap time there from Wards, the TF10 driver, as we got Knight, sorry, not Knight, we have Philippe Fraxak coming towards the checkered flag right now, and he's invalidated on his lap time, so no improvement there from him. as I believe it is Callum. Yes, Callum, the next man to cross the line. He's 2 attempts up in the middle sector. He's going to be looking to find improvements here and get himself a little bit further up the order, get himself safe. That's what he's hoping for. Rappy's unfortunately out of the session. Callum up into P10 as here comes Knight to the line. Philippe Fraxak unfortunately out of the session, so all eyes on the ET8 man of Oxcrew. As long as he can get a lap time on the board, he's through to Q2. And he comes through the final corner right now. The ET8 man, he's kept it valid. He is through to Q2. Oxcrew for ET8 gets himself up the order to P10 in the end. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through the results here in Q1. Of course, Oscar and Volokonga, the top 2. Wards in second with Ryzen in third. Ortiz in 5th with Kevin Zumberg in 6th. Knight in 7th with Igor in 8th. Predestinato in 9th. And then, of course, Oxcrew rounding out the top 10. Outside the top 10, we got Leoria. We have Callum, Combo, Lupin, and Agonize just squeaking through. And our drivers that are knocked out here in Q1. FRT Caden, Philippe Fragzak, and of course EVR Rappy X, and he's got a 5-place grid penalty as well to his name, does Rappy. So unfortunately we've lost a EVR driver. We have lost we've lost a FRT driver, and of course we also lost so we lost a EVR, a FRT, and a Alien Motorsports driver. So unfortunate for those 3 right there. Of course, Langman for All Elite Racing Team, and of course Justin for Azuri Esports. Unfortunately not here tonight to make it the full 20 drivers. So we do have 18. Only the bottom 3 went out in Q1, but we're here now in Q2 where we're going to see who will be going into the top 10 shootout with the chance of picking up the pole position point in Q3. As out there on track right now, the first driver out is Oscar for Shazoo Cedars Igniters. Of course, a prediction that came through the chat earlier on is Oscar for pole position. Guys, let us know in the chat what your prediction will be. Will it be Oscar taking pole position? Will Oscar be topping the times again here in Q2? Let me know. Of course, having a look in the chat to see what predictions you guys are currently saying in there. And right, so we have no further predictions in the chat, guys. Let me know your predictions in the chat of who you think is going to be taking the pole position point here tonight. As Oscar, we're going to stay on board with him as he's going to take us on a lap of the Qatar circuit as we head down in towards turn number 1. 4th gear, getting the corner hooked up lovely for turn 1. Using the track on the exit as well. Through turns 2 on the ERS as we come through turn number 3. In towards the hard braking for turn number 4 as we throw the car in 5th gear, keep it all hooked up as we come through turn number 5. First sector split as we approach the braking for turn 6 at the hairpin. 29.8 first sector split for Oscar. Exit turn 6, the traction put down as we head now through turn number 7. 4th gear, getting the car rotated as we use all the curb on the exit through turn 8. Now in towards turn 9. Into the hard left-hander at turn number 10. Through turn 11 now, middle sector split is going to be a 56.8 through the triple right-handers of 12, 13, and now in towards turn number 14. Now the left-hander at turn 15 all the way to the final corner now. The right-hander at turn 16. Oscar, will this be enough for him to go straight on through to Q3 as the DRS will be open to the line? It's a 20.6 for Oscar. A 10th off what he did in Q1, but still a very, very good lap. And his teammate in behind, Volokongan, matching what he did in Q1 with a 20.7. So both of the SCI drivers seem to be on pace and looking to take a front row lockout here if things remain as it is. As we got Leora there popping himself up into P3 with a 21 flat, an improved lap time there from Leora, I believe from Q1. So he'll be happy with that. Callum on the set in the mediums, 21.7. Interesting that he has done that lap on the set of the medium compound tyres. So opting to save a set of the sauce for the end of the session. Ward's here with a 21 flat as well for TF10, currently on board with all elite racing teams. Lupin here as he comes towards the final corner, throws the car in, back end steps out on him. That's lost him a huge amount of time and momentum coming through the final corner, and that is definitely going to put him down in P7. Unfortunately there for Lupin, just the back end did not want to stick on that Scuderia Ferrari, and that is going to put him under big pressure because he's definitely going to have to go again at the end of the session. 10 minutes remaining here in Q2 right now. Oscar and Volokongan, the Shazoo Seagulls Igniters, topping their times 1-2 as it was in Q1. Will it remain a 1-2 in Q2, and can it be a 1-2 in Q3 if both make it all the way? Of course, Predestinato coming through to start up his first lap here in Q2. His teammate Ryzen did a fantastic job in Q1. Predestinato done what he did and got himself into Q2, but can he squeak himself into Q3? Because we know Ryzen does have the lap time there that he could get himself into Q3, but does his teammate Predestinato have it? Coming through turns 5 and 6, turns 4 and 5 now as we head towards turn number 6, 29.9 sector 1 split. Little bit of wheel spin on the exit of turn 6, not ideal for Predestinato as we come through turn 7 now. Open yourself up through turns 8, does not use as much of the curve as we saw Oscar do earlier. So that potentially might have just cost him a little bit of time as we go through turn 10. Now through 11 as we head to the right-hander at turn number 12. 57.1 for Predestinato here as we go through turn 14. Left-hander at turn 15. Absolutely full commitment there from Predestinato as he comes through the final corner. The back end does not step out on him as we saw with Lupin earlier. Keeps the back end in check. To the line will come Predestinato. It's a 21 flat up in the P4 for the Bravo Racing Club driver right now. As we got Kevin Zumberg here at 29.7 first sector split on the exit at turn 6. Of course we have Ostru in behind as well, who is also on a flying lap. Agonized, of course, in Q1. It wasn't a representative time from the FRT driver, but he did enough to squeak himself through into Q2 due to no lap times being set from the three drivers below him. Of course, Agonized has definitely got to put a much improved lap time on the board this time around if he wants any hopes of getting himself in towards Q3. But Kevin Zumberg right now for Evolution Racing Team, his teammate out in Q1. As Kevin tries to get himself in towards Q3. It's a 20.6. He goes ahead of Oscar in terms of the lap times. And that is a big lap time from Kevin Zumberg. Oscar now to the line. A 21.1 for him. Definitely going to have to go again. Same with Igor. That is for sure. Agonized on a lap time. Coming through turns 12, 13 and of course through turn number 14. In towards the left-hander. 15 now. Keeps it within the track limit. So this is definitely going to be a lap time quicker than his Q1 efforts. Let's see if it's going to be enough to get him into the top 10. It is a 20.9 up to P5 goes agonized. Big lap time for him. Igor just starting his lap, but we'll come back on board with him in just a moment's time as we got Oscar to the line. And then his teammate Volakongan in just behind. Where's Oscar? Got enough to knock Kevin Zumberg back into P2. Yes, he does. It's a 20.3 for Oscar. What a lap time there from Oscar as we got Volakongan in behind. And he goes quicker than his teammate. Is once again a Shazoo Seeders Igniters. 1, 2, both of them in the 20.3s. Big lap time from the pair of the Shazoo Cedar Igniters drivers right there. And as we come on board with Oscar there, his back end stepping out. Unfortunate for him, but Igor has invalidated on his lap time as well, so he's going to be coming back into the pit lane also. I think if you're the SCI pairing right now, you are very happy with your Q2 lap time, and you can definitely think about saving a final run here in Q2, because they got 3 attempts to Kevin Zumberg in 3rd place. And in terms of being in danger, they got 8 attempts to Oscar in 10th place, and they got 1.2 the gap between himself and 11th place man AERT Lupin. So I think right now both Shazoo drivers are going to be very happy with their lap times, and I don't think we're going to see them set any laps towards the end of this session. They'll be gearing themselves up for the final laps in Q3, that is for sure, as we got Wards out there on the outlap right now, so he will be the man to keep an eye on, and we'll see what he is going to be capable of. And here we go, Volakongan, Oscar and Kevin all retiring from the session, happy with the lap times they have set. Of course, the gap between the danger zone and Kevin is 9/10 of a second, so with Oscar and Volakongan being 3 tenths ahead of Kevin, they're all happy and confident all 3 will see the next session. Everyone else, though, they may feel a little bit of the pressure. They're going to be looking for the improved lap times, so we're going to stay on board with Wards here, as he is going to take us on a lap. And in fact, we're going to go full screen for Wards, and we're just going to let this lap run with no commentary. Oh, there we go. Ward's crossing the line at 20.8. A very good lap time there from the TF10 man, just pipping ahead of his teammate. But will we see more improved lap times coming in from the drivers in behind? Is a 20.8 enough for Wards? That is going to be the question, of course. P10 right now is Ox2 with a 21.1. Of course, Lupin, we saw what happened with his lap time earlier where his back end stepped out on him, so you can expect him to be looking for improvements. Lap times underway. Ego is on a flying lap, but the man furthest ahead on his flying lap is Callum, so we'll jump on board with him. .74 Callum as Knight has joined. So Knight will of course be starting from last place, P19 for Knight. Oh, Knight actually, Knight's still in the session. Sorry, I apologise for that one. Lupin unfortunately has left the session. A heartbreak there, so Lupin 100% out here in Q2. Knight was just about able to get back in the session, but he's going to be out also. So we have two confirmed exites here as, Callum has also invalidated on his run, and I think that is going to be it for Callum as well, as he too will see the checkered flag without an improved lap time. And yeah, he's not happy. Ryzen though improves, goes himself up into P3. Ego up into P7. Oscu on a lap right now. He's in the danger zone. Agonized. Purple in sector 2 as we got Predestinato coming through the final corner now. Is it going to be an improved lap time for him? He's P9. He's in the danger zone. He's up to P5. Big lap time there from Predestinato, the Bravo Racing Club driver. Now here comes Agonized. Agonized in P9. He's dangerously close to going out, but he's up to P3. A 20.4 for him. Oxcu, he's in the drop zone. As is Combo. And Combo up to P11. He's out, but what can Oxcu do? Up to P4. He is in now. What can Leora do? He's in the drop zone. Has he found 0.2 of a second? He has, but it's not enough. Ego does survive Leroy by 1/100th of a second between 10th and 11th. Unfortunately for Knight, he disconnected from the session and he was only able to rejoin at the end. Too late for him to set a lap time, but ladies and gentlemen, the top 10 has shaped up. We got both TF10 drivers, both ET8 drivers, we got both Shazoo Cedar Igniters drivers, we have both Bravo Racing Club drivers, we have one representative from Future Racing Team in Agonize, and of course we have one representative from Evolution Racing Team in Kevin Zumberg. That is your top 10 shootout going in towards Q3. Big lap times coming in at the end from a lot of the drivers to get themselves out of the danger zone and safe into Q3. So your top 10 is Volokongan, Oscar, Ortiz, Agonize, Oxcrew, Ryzen, Kevin Zumberg, Predestinato, Awards, and of course Iga. The drivers eliminated here in Q2. Leora, Combo, Lupin, Callum, and Knight. Unfortunately for these five, they will not be going to Q3 and the top 10 shootout. But now we have the top 10. Who is taking pole position? Right now it has been a 1-2 in both Q1 and Q2 for Shazoo Cedars Igniters. Well, Oscar topping the times in Q1, Volokongan topping the times in Q2. But we just saw moments ago TF10 less than a 10th off of the Shazoo Cedars Igniters lap time. So there's definitely a strong possibility that we're going to see a very feisty 12 minutes here in qualifying 3 for what should be a real clash for pole position here. I'll be interested to see who has saved a set of tyres to go out nice and early. It looks like one of the Haas's, so that is going to be one of the Bravo Racing Clubs. It's going to be Ryzen who's going to get himself out there first and foremost. So we'll stay on board with Ryzen as he takes us on a outlap. We got Agonized in behind, who's also going to step out there on track, try to get a lap in nice and early. Of course, very easy to invalidate, and with only 12 minutes, your chances of getting a lap time on the board if you make a mistake diminishes very rapidly. Of course, we'd like to thank every single person that is tuning in right now into the console championship here in CTC. We're in Q3, the top 10 shootout. We have Shazoo, Cedar, Igniters, Oscar, and Volakongan. We have ET8 Esports, Oxtu, and Eagle. We have Evolution Racing Teams, Kevin Zumberg. We have TF10's Esports, Ortiz, and Wards. We have Future Racing Teams, Agonized. We have Bravo Racing Clubs, Predestinato, and Ryzen. Also here tonight in the top 10 shootout, 10 minutes to go in the session as Ryzen comes into the pit lane. Will Agonize get his lap going, or will he too come into the pits? No, he is going to go on his lap, so Agonize will set the benchmark in terms of lap times here in Q3. A fantastic lap from him in Q2 after getting through Q1 with a lap time which not really competitive in terms of the lap times we saw in Q1, but he did get through due to 3 drivers unable to get lap times on the boards. And unfortunately for Agonize, to start his Q3 session, this is an invalidation. As we switch on to the TF10 driver in Wards for his first lap here in Q3, coming through turn 2 now. Of course, Wards a very quick time in Q2, so the potential is there for Wards as long as he can hook up the lap, and we're going to see if he's going to be able to do so. 29.9 sector 1 split for the TF10 man as he exits turn number 6 in towards turn number 7 now. Uses all the curb through turn 8 now in towards the break in for turn 9. Gets onto that inside curb, uses the curb on the exit as well, does the TF10 driver. As the middle sector split, 57.1. Turn 15 navigated, no invalidation for Wards. This will be a lap time on the board. The benchmark is about to be set from the TF10 team in the shape of Wards. It's going to be a 20.9 for TF10 Wards. As we have, I believe that's Oscar about to get his lap underway. Predestinato is going to be the next one to set a flying lap as he comes through towards the final corner now. And I believe it's Ortiz next man to come through in behind. So Predestinato, it's going to be a 20.7. What can Ortiz do? A 20.3 from TF10 Ortiz. The benchmark has well and truly been laid down now. Remember, we saw a 20.3 come from both of the Shazoo drivers in Q2. They're going to have to replicate that if they want to topple the TF10 driver of Ortiz. And there goes Arcanized into the pit lane. So we'll jump on board with I believe that is Ox2 now coming through the final corner. Yes, it is. ET8. Ox2 now to the line. 20.5 gets himself up in the P2. What can Volakongan do? And there it is. A 20.2 for Volakongan. Up on to provisional pole position for the time being. As we got Oscar on a flying lap in behind, and we're going to see what Oscar can do. Is he going to match his teammate? Is he going to better his teammate? Coming through the final corner now. Here comes Oscar to the line. A 20.1 from Oscar. Incredible there from Oscar in terms of lap time. He has beaten his teammate by just under 600ths of a second. But it's a 20.1 here in Q3. The gauntlet has been laid down as the drivers will now make their way back into the pit lane to get their laps going once again. As soon as Ego crosses the line, we'll have the last laps come through for the top 10 shootout. But right now, Shazoo Cedar Igniter sitting in prime position to pick up that pole position point for the second week running. Will it be Oscar though, taking that point 2 weeks in a row? Quick reminder of the standings before the drivers gearing themselves up for their final runs. In fact, Ryzen is on a invalid lap right now, so unfortunate for him. Ego, of course, going to be coming back into the pit lane. But a quick reminder of the championship standings. ET8 lead the way on 27 points. Shazoo Cedar Igniter is currently in second place on 23. 22 points for Bravo Racing Club. Evolution Racing Team in fourth place on 18 points. Then TF10 Esports on 11 points in fifth place, with All Elite Racing Team also on 11 points in sixth. Then of course we have Alien Motorsports in seventh on 10 points. 9 points for the eighth place team, which is Future Racing Team. And then of course we have ninth place in Azuri Esports. And of course Legacy Racing also on 2 points in 10th place. That is how the standings are looking right now. As it currently stands, if Oscar maintains pole position here, the gap between ET8 and Shazoo Cedar Igniters drops from 4 points to 3 points. As we have just over 3.5 minutes remaining here in Q3. Right now, Oscar tops the times. A 20.1, the lap time to beat. Volakongan, his teammate, alongside him on the front row. Could we see a Shazoo Cedar Ignite as all front row here in Qatar? Time will tell. TF10 Ortiz currently in third place, as there is Justin for Azuri Esports joining the session. So Azuri Esports will have both of their drivers in, with Combo and Justin, who has just managed to join before the end of qualifying 3. Agonize, the FRT driver, saw his teammate go out in Q1 after crashing out on the exit at turn 14. Agonize has been flying the flag for FRT, and he's going to be hoping to set a lap time that puts him in the conversation towards the front end of the field. As we're going to start to see drivers trickling out of the pit lane now, with 2.5 minutes to go in the session. But it'll be Agonize, the man who will get his final lap in first and foremost. And of course, Agonize might actually be in a position where he can possibly, if he invalidates early on his lap, he might have enough time to back off and go again. That will be interesting. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see what happens on his flying lap. So we will stay on board with Agonize for this entire lap, and we'll see what he can do. He currently does not have a lap time on the board. Is that about to change as we get the final lap here in qualifying underway? A minute and a half remaining. Agonized now. DRS wide open on the ERS as we head down in towards turn number 1. The FRT driver taking a lot of the inside curve on entry and using it on the exit as well. Same through turn 2. Using all the track possible, making sure that there is no margin for error. In towards turn 4 and turn 5, the double right-hander here as we head to the first sector split. 20.5 first sector split as we come through turn number 6. In towards the never-ending right-hander at turn 7, which launches you immediately through turn 8. Now into turn 9. Now the break in for turn 10, getting the car hooked up early on the throttle on the exit, making sure you maximize traction out of turn 10 as we go through 11 in towards turn 12. 56.4 for Agonize as we go through 13 and now through 14. Does not lose the back end like his teammate did earlier, but it's an invalidation there at the end through 15. Heartbreak for Agonize as there's not going to be a lap time there for him. That is going to be up towards the top. He did a 20.5 in the end, but unfortunately it was invalidated. Igor 3 attempts up in the middle sector. This will be enough to put him ahead of Ryzen right now into P4. But can he find any more time in the final sector? That is the question. We got one of the TF10 drivers next across the line after Igor. But let's see what the ET8 man can do as he comes to the line. Is he going to break the top 3? No, he doesn't. He's up in the P4. And it's going to be Ward's the next man to cross the line. He's half a second up in the middle sector. This will be a big lap time from Ward's if he's found any more time in that final sector. Here comes the TF10 man. And he loses a bit in the final sector. He's up to P6 as Oscar into the 19s. What a lap time from him. Into the 19s for Oscar. An improved lap time there from Ortiz, but it's not enough. Volokongan up by a 10th. As well as we got Kevin Zumberg splitting the Shazoo Cedar Igniters, but I believe Volokongan is doing enough to take that back. Yes, he is. What about Ryzen? What's Ryzen going to do? Up to P3 comes Ryzen. And that is Q3 done and dusted because, of course, Agonized invalidated way too late in the lap for him to back off and get the ERS back. He is going to put a lap time on the board. It's not going to be a competitive one, but it is a lap time nonetheless. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Shazoo Cedar Igniters that take the pole position point with the efforts of Oscar, the only man into the 1 minute 19s, and he'll be sharing the front row with his teammate in Volokongan, who comes through in second place just ahead of Ryzen for Bravo Racing Club in P3. Kevin Zumberg there for Evolution Racing Team in P4, Ox2 ET8 in P5. TF10's Ortiz in P6 with Predestinato in P7. Igor in P8 with TF10's Wards in P9. And then, of course, Agonize there, rounding out the top 10 for FRT. Wow, wow, wow. What a... I'm not going to lie, guys. What a fantastic qualifying session that was. Of course, Oscar there really setting the times alight in the end, gets the pole position point, which is fantastic for him and fantastic for Shazoo Cedar Igniters. I don't believe we have had a word for a restart in terms of the lobby. I'm just quickly going to check. I don't believe so. We'll quickly have a look. I do believe we'll just go straight into the race. Yes, absolutely. So we will be going straight into the race. So we won't be taking a break to the intermission screen for now, but we will be looking forward to the action. 29 laps around the Qatar circuit for the drivers to navigate. 5.4 kilometers, 3.3 miles, 16 corners, 1 DRS zone. ERS going to be important to manage around here. Track limits also going to be very important to manage around here. And also on top of that is all going to come down to strategy, of course. The key around here is going to be strategy. Undercut very powerful on the F1 25 game, so I'm assuming we'll be seeing some drivers take advantage of the undercut, maybe trying to get themselves ahead of a particular train. In terms of the strategy, I think we'll be seeing a straight mediums to hards, possibly hards, mediums around here in Qatar. So the drivers getting themselves prepared, getting themselves sorted. As we look to see who will be coming out on top. It is a Shazoo Cedar Igniters all front row here tonight. Of course, the reminder of the driver lineup. Oscar Volokongan for Shazoo Cedars Igniters. Osku and Igor for ET8. Knight and Philip Fragzak there for Alien Motorsport. Kevin Zumberg and Rappy X for Evolution Racing Team. Ortiz and Wards for Team TF10 Esports. Predestinato and Ryzen there for Bravo Racing Club. Lupin for All Elite Racing Team. I don't think I saw Langman join the lobby, so unfortunately I think he's going to be the lone All Elite Racing Team driver here tonight. Azuri Esports with Combo, and of course we saw Justin join in Q3, so both of their drivers will be here for the race, with Caden and Agonize there for Future Racing Team, and of course Leora and Callum for Legacy Racing. That is the driver lineup here in Qatar. We should be seeing 19 drivers going to the 5 red lights, as we are here on the in the pit lane, and the drivers really focusing on trying to get their setups and everything sorted, as we are yet to get the go ahead to go into the race. Hopefully there is no issues, as everyone's been given the green light to ready up now to go into the action on track. So we will transfer ourselves over to the action, looking at the pit lane as the drivers gear themselves up for 29 laps here around the Qatar circuit. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, taking you through the action. And we'll be seeing, is Shazoo's 1-2 in qualifying going to translate to a 1-2 in the race? Time will tell, but here we go to those 5 red lights. I guess underway here for round number 2. The lights are out and we are underway with a fantastic launch here from Ryzen, getting already alongside Oscar and Volokongan on the inside, but he's not going to be able to hold it as Ryzen clean around the outside. Up into the race lead goes Ryzen. What a start there from the Bravo Racing Club driver, as he gets himself up into the race lead, overtaking both Shazoo drivers. As we got a little bit of side-by-side action with Ortiz and Oxcu. Oxcu on the inside, Ortiz trying to hang it all the way around the outside. A little bit of a nudge, make sure that Ortiz does not get through around the outside. The TF10 man has to settle in behind the ET8 driver for the time being. As we got Agonize, who's had a horrendous start. He's down in P16, as Justin from the back of the grid is getting himself at the order, and it looks like Langman did join in the end. So we do have all 20 drivers here tonight, which is fantastic to see. So So all drivers represented here tonight as we head back up towards the top of the field. Volokonga now in behind Ryzen. Oscar from pole position down to P3. Not the best of launches off the line for the pole sitter as he loses out to not only his teammate but also to Bravo Racing Club's Ryzen at the same time. Kevin Zumberg there holding on to P4, but of course Oxcu there in P5. Ortiz putting the pressure on in P6 for TF10 with Igor in P8. Predestinado in P8, Igor in P7 with Ward in P9. Combo, good start from him as he's climbing himself up to 10th place. Caden with a great start as well after going out in Q1. He's up to P11 as we got Lupin and Leoya side by side coming through turns 7 and now in towards turn 8, and it's going to be Leoya that holds on to that position as it looks like they're Justin getting all out of shape on the back of Lupin there for P13 as Philippe Fraxac there with the first 3-second time penalty of the evening. Not ideal for Philippe to be picking up time penalties this early on in the race, but it just shows how difficult the track limits are around here in Qatar. As Ryzen still holds the race lead, but DRS is now activated, and look at how powerful the DRS is as Volokonga closed in by around about half a second on the start finish straight. And this is where it's going to be very difficult for Ryzen, because he had the opportunity to try and pull away as we got Agonize and Philippe Fragzak there going to be battling out for P14, as I believe we heard a little bit of contact in behind, but there's nothing on track as Rabbies, Knight and Lupin all making early pit stops for a set of the hard compound tyres. Heartbreak for those three as they're going to be hoping to try and get themselves back up the order. Callum with a 3-second time penalty here on lap number 3. Back up towards the front though. Volokongan around about 6/10 off the back of Ryzen. We saw how powerful the DRS was down the start finish straight. The important thing though to keep up is going to be the ERS. As you see, Ryzen has burnt quite a bit of ERS to try and break away from Volokongan and Oscar in behind, because of course while Volokonga may be okay with Oscar slipstreaming past him with DRS if he lost out to Ryzen, he wouldn't be happy with Kevin Zumberg in behind being as close as he is, because there's potential there that Kevin could also benefit and maybe get himself up the order as well. Justin though, new fastest lap of the race as he has got himself from P20 on the grid up to P13. A good start from him. Langman there in 17th place. Of course, the two drivers that we did not see in qualifying at all, both making sure they're here for the 5 red lights, which is the most important thing. A 3-second time penalty there coming in for Lupin. Not ideal for him for the All Elite Racing team. As we see the first split in the train begin to form as Justin 1.1 off the back of Leora, and this is where we're going to see just what losing DRS is going to do to your race here in Qatar, because it's not ideal. You do not want to be out of that DRS train, and right now Justin is out of the DRS train. He's going to have to make sure he hooks up these couple of corners here through 13, 14 and now through 15. Definitely going to have to be on the ERS a little bit, but he's not within the 1 second, and let's just see how much time he hemorrhages down the start finish straight due to no ERS to his name. Arcanine should easily be able to break away and get the job done here. But the gap 1.3 right there. But of course, Justin around about 4/10 of a second off the back of Agonize now, so Justin there losing out quite considerably. Agonize is going to be trying to do everything he can to get back within 1 second of Leoira, and it looks like he may just about do so with the closing speed he currently has on the LR man. Towards the front though, so as we come on board, Ortiz and Oscu there side by side, little bit of contact between the pair of them, and Igor there, more contact with Ortiz and Igor, and I think I saw a bit of front wing fly off, and yet there's an end plate missing there on the TF10's Williams car. Unfortunate there for Ortiz. And in fact, both end plates are missing there on the TF10 car. Looks like Oxcu has managed to get away with it there with no wing damage for him. But this is going to cause an absolute bottleneck now, as Igor is out of the DRS range as Volokongren gets through up into the race lead, as you would expect with DRS, as Oxcu and Predestinado get through on Ortiz. Wards, I think, will be given the go ahead to get past his teammate almost immediately with that wing damage. And there we go, there's the switcheroo. And there is Combo now stuck in behind Ortiz, and Ortiz is going to be a bottleneck now for these guys in behind, with no front end plate on both the front or the left hand side of that front wing. The downforce difference is going to be very unfortunate for Ortiz, especially in this middle sector and of course the final sector where it's quite high speed. Igor potentially could help his teammate out by just backing off slightly, but 1.9 the gap between Kevin and Igor, not ideal right there, as Lupin picks up a 3-second time penalty. I think that's the second of the evening, and it looks like it's not going to be any backing off from the ET8 man to help his teammate out, as here we go now. Predestinado with DRS should breeze past Ostul down in towards turn number 1. He's not using any ERS, and he's going to go to the outside. Here it goes. Predestinado around the outside of Ostul, who shows him the exit curve there, and Oscu holds on to P6. Wards is just going to sit in behind and wait for his opportunity. Caden now 1.5 seconds off the back of Wards, with of course Ortiz now falling down the order. He's down to P13, lap 7 of 29. He's definitely going to be thinking about pitting very soon, I can imagine, for the TF10 team, putting on a set of the hard compound tyres, fresh front wing, and seeing what he can do in a bit of free air. As Oscu now is back within DRS range of his teammate Igor, so it looks like Igor might have done a little bit of teamwork to try and help Oscu out by giving him DRS up ahead, because Predestinato really piled on the pressure through turn 1 on the ET8 man. The Bravo Racing Club driver looking to try and get through. He's on the ERS and he's got the overspeed. He's on the DRS. He might potentially get Oscu down in towards turn number 1 as Oscu moves over the cover down the inside. There you go, as it's going to be Predestinato getting the job done down the inside. He'll go, hold it around the outside of turn 2. Job done for Predestinato. Splitting the ET8 pair in here in 5th and 7th. The top 4 though are in a race of their own. 4.2 the gap to Igor in 5th place. Then of course we've got Predestinato in 6th. Ostu in 7th. Wards in 8th. Caden up into 9th on the hard compound tyres. And then a second back we have Leoira in 10th place. But it looks like he's just got himself back within that 1 second window. Ortiz with a 3-second time penalty with that wing damage, of course, hindering his downforce. Which is unfortunate for TF10 right there. Agonized in 11th place, with Combo in 12th. 13th place is Justin, with of course Callum in 14th. Ortiz in 15th. still going around with that wing damage, holding up both Langman and Philippe Fragzak there in 16th and 17th place. And of course the guys that have made a pit stop in Rapids, Lupin and Knight, as we head back up towards the action towards the front. No one looking to eye up any moves right now. Maybe Agonize will though, with DRS down the inside of Leora. Up in the P10 goes the FRT driver, and now he can get onto the back of his teammate who's up there in P9. As there is Ortiz into the pit lane, fresh front wing on for the TF10 driver. Hard compound tyres as well. Looks like he's going to come out behind all three of Rappy, X, Lupin and Knight here. In fact, he just gets out ahead of Knight, but Knight will have his tyres switched on pretty sharpish just coming out of the pit lane. So we'll come back and on board with the battle in the midfield in just a moment's time. But it looks like Ortiz does enough to get himself ahead of Knight, and he'll be looking now to put down some very competitive lap times to get himself up the order. A lot of work to do for Ortiz in this race. Back up towards the front, rising now, closing in on Volakonga with DRS, uses a double ERS up into the race lead goes. The Bravo Racing Clubs are rising, and into the race lead he'll go once again. Right now it is a Shazoo Cedar Igniters double podium right here. Potential for a 1-2 finish on the cards for the pair of them if they can make the strategy work. Lap 10 of 29. We're going to be looking at the pit lane window opening up for these drivers now for the set of the hard compound tyres. That is going to be for sure the top four in a race of their own. Then of course we got this train from Igor in P5 all the way down to Justin there in P13. In fact, Callum in P14 just getting within that train, but he's teaming on the edge of 1 second is Callum, the LR driver, so he needs to make sure he can stay within the 1 second of Justin, otherwise he's going to be left in no man's land with Philippe Fragzak right now under a bit of pressure from the Langman in behind him. Then of course we got the cars that have made their pit stops here. So Rabbi X made a pit stop at the end of lap 1 for a set of the hard compound tyres. He's in 17th place. Well, Lupin there in P18. Ortiz just made his pit stop. He's in 19th place. Arguably though, going to be quicker than both of the drivers in front of him. And that is ideal for him because he needs to get through on these guys and get himself setting those lap times. Because here comes Oscar and Zumberg into the pit lane along with Predestinado. No time penalties coming through for speeding in the pit lane, fortunately for these guys, as Oscar set the hards. Is he going to get back out ahead of Kevin? Yes, he does. Wards, Predestinado and Oxcool also in the pit lane. Looks like Predestinado was going to stay ahead of Oxcool. Wards there in 14th with Callum in 15th. Langman now in 16th also, as Ortiz with DRS using ERS and Lupin getting out of the way, not looking to fight Ortiz. Understand he's in a different race to the TF10 driver, as it looks like Ortiz on his laps has done enough close to the back of Langman, but he's got a long way to go to get to the battles where he was quite prominent in early on in this race. Oscar now needs a big outlap here to get the jump on Ryzen and his teammate Volakongan. Kevin Zumberg is going to be hanging on the back for the ride. Going to be seeing if he can make the undercut work, get himself into a net P2 in this race. Well, let's find out, because both Ryzen and Volakongan are into the pit lane. And we're going to see now what happens there, as it looks like Agonize and Caden continue on. Ego with a 10-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. ET8 Ego, unfortunately for him, 10 seconds will be applied to him. Callum with a 3-second time penalty also, as we got Ryzen coming out of the pit lane right now. There comes Oscar down the start finish straight, and Oscar will take the race lead coming down in towards turn number 1. But here comes Kevin, and Kevin there, slight bit of contact with Ryzen on the exit. of turn 1, and it looks like Oscar, not only has he managed to get himself into the race lead, it looked like he almost done enough to get himself out of DRS, but it looks like Ryzen though doing everything he needs to do to keep himself in the DRS of the man ahead. The Shazoo Sega Igniters driver, the pole sitter for this evening. Currently the net race leader in this race as we wait for both Caden and Agonize to make their pit stop. The FRT drivers going deeper into this race. Will that hinder them with the pit stop phase? You can only imagine, as we got Predestinato now ahead of both ETA drivers. Wards now knows he'll get the time on Igor, so he needs to try and get through on Igor as quickly as possible so he doesn't lose time to Leora in behind us. Ryzen there taking a very wide line through 15 off track. That definitely would have been a warning for the Bradford Racing Club driver, as Oscar sets the fastest lap of the race and just about broke 1 second as they cross the start finish line, but DRS for Ryzen will bring it back within a couple of tenths. So Oscar really does need to get away. Kevin Zumberg needs to make sure he does not lose DRS to Ryzen here, because he is on the teetering edge of 1 second. In fact, he's out of the 1 second window now, which will help Volokongan out getting the move back up into a net podium position. But if Oscar can break away from Ryzen and Zumberg unable to close in on Ryzen, this might be enough to allow the Shazoo Cedar Igniters to potentially get themselves into a 1-2 position in this race. But Ryzen doing absolutely everything he can to stay within the 1 second window, but he is on the teetering edge here. 9/10 of a second. But he gets a fantastic run through 14 and does enough through 15 as well, but he has used an awful lot of track limits, an awful lot of ERS, I apologise. I saw the track limits come up there for Kevin Zumberg in behind, which is unfortunate for him as he's overtaken by Volokongan. Up into a net podium position now goes the Mercedes of the Shazoo Cedar Igniters driver in Volokongan. Agonize in the pit lane now. He's going to come out down behind Leroy, but ahead of Combo, which is important for him. Ortiz, fastest lap of the race. He's trying to get himself back up into a good finishing position. Right now he is in the points paying position. He's in 15th and he's picked up the fastest lap of the race, so that's an extra point for the TF10 man right now. So he's picking up 2 points. Is Ortiz after the calamities early on in this race with wing damage after contact with not one but both ET8 drivers. I wonder if there'll be any steward reports going in from either team on that front, as it definitely did cause the split, the top four being able to get away nice and early, as Volokongan almost within 1 second. In fact, he is just about within the 1 second window, maybe, as Kevin Zumberg might have just dropped out of the 1 second window, as I think Volokongan might have got himself within 1 second. Yes, he has, and Kevin's out of it. Kevin has lost that 1 second window, and now Kevin's going to fall behind the top three. So right now it's going to be Oscar versus Ryzen for the front of the field, but Oscar has his teammate Volokongan in behind, and Kevin Zumberg now, if he can't get back within DRS range this lap, he is going to just fall away from the top three. And Lupin out of the race into the pit lane with tyres from the session. Knight also into the pit lane as well. Lap 15 of 29. The top three pulling away from the net P4 man in Kevin Zumberg here, and of course 1.4 the gap, 1.5 now, as Kevin will begin to fall further away. And if Ostu and Predestinato, obviously momentarily work together with the DRS, they can close themselves back up to maybe get themselves a P4 in this race. But the question is, will they work together? I don't think they will, especially with Igor in behind Osku. I think Osku will be more trying to help his teammate maybe get through on Predestinato, and then the ETA drivers will try and work together to close up to Kevin. I think that'll be the game plan from ETA, but Predestinato does lead ahead of Osku in this race. And then of course we got Wars holding on to the back of Igor with that 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane to be applied to his race result, and right now that'll see him take a big tumble down the order. Agonize trying to do everything he can to close up to these guys up ahead, but right now he's in a bit of a no man's land. He's towing the Oira along as Combo ahead of Callum for P12 and 13, and then you got Ortiz trying everything he can to get onto the back of Philippe Fraxac there for P14 in this race. As it looks like Ortiz, the pace he has got right now versus the Alien Motorsports driver might be enough to try and get himself back within DRS range and get himself an extra position, but back up towards the front. Ryzen in a Shazoo Cedar Igniters sandwich. Oscar, of course, was in the battle for the race win with RGN last week, Bravo Racing Club's driver, and unfortunately Oscar, a little bit of contact on the final lap with the BRC man meant that Oscar not only lost out on potentially the race win, but he dropped down to P3. He's going to be hoping this time that he gets himself the P1 here ahead of the Bravo Racing Club driver, as they are rapidly closing in on Caden, who has gone for the alternative strategy. He has started on the set of the hards, and we'll be waiting for when the time that he comes in for the set of the medium compound tyres. Of course, he will be quick towards the end of the race, so potential for the fastest lap point for FRT here. But how far back will Caden drop? That's going to be the big question, and will he have the pace to get himself through and up the order? Well, right now it looks like Ryzen, the runs he's getting through 12, 13 and 14 is really helping him out here, and of course through 15 he's getting the runs he needs to around the DRS detection point. As there goes Caden into the pit lane now, and it'll be a set of the mediums on the car for the FRT man, so we'll see where he'll peel out to, as Predestinato is now ahead, is now behind Ox2, so he is now in P6, Ox2 in P5, as Caden will come out. Where's he coming out to? He's going to come out just behind, I think, Combo and Callum here will have the pace and hold it around the outside, but Caden will hold on to P12, so Caden, he can try and get himself through on Combo as quickly as possible, and if he can get through on Combo, he's got 5 seconds of clear air to push into on those mediums. He should have the grip and the pace advantage to close in on Leroy Agonized and Wards and as such, but is it going to be enough by the time he catches up to him? Is it going to be enough for him to get through? I don't know, but he is going to be trying to look to try and take advantage of time penalties on the cars ahead. Agonize and Leroy, 3 seconds for the pair of them. Looks like Agonize went wide and Leroy followed him off track, both picking up a 3-second time penalty. That will be big for Wards and Predestinato in this race, as they will be happy to see cars in behind picking up time penalties, that is for sure. Speaking of the time penalties, let's have a little look at the time penalties here tonight. Kevin Zumberg with 3 seconds, Igor with 10, 3 seconds for Agonize, 3 seconds for Leroy, 6 seconds for Callum, Philippe Fragrock, Frack Zach there in P14 with 12 seconds, as Langman has left the session. Caden get through on combo as you would expect down in towards turn number 1. Job done there for Caden as he can try and push on those mediums now. Wards and Leora battling it out because Wards has lost out to not only Agonize but also Leora. And Leora now 1.4 off the back of Agonize, so we've just missed what's gone on there. I think Agonize trying to move on Wards. He got it done. Wards off put side by side with Leora, and both of them lose out on DRS. The cars up ahead, but also the penalties continuing on. Philippe Frack Zach there with 12 seconds. Ortiz with 3. Justin with 9. Knight with 3, and Rappy's also with 3 seconds to his name. All the drivers have made 1 stop apart from Knight and Rappy, who have of course made 2 stops in this race. As Caden now on those mediums, he's pulled 2 seconds clear of combo in behind, and he's using those mediums to good effect now, so he's trying to close up to the top 10. He does have a time penalty to his name, which is unfortunate for him, but some of the drivers in front of him also have time penalties. So it's not all doom and gloom for Caden just yet. Leora does pick up DRS on the guys up ahead, but he loses out massively down the start finish straight, which is unfortunate for him. Kevin Zumberg though does a no DRS to the top 3, now nearly 5 seconds off the back. Ryzen now with a time penalty to his name, and that is perfect for the Shazoo Cedar Igniters period of Volokongan and Oscar. As Oscar there gets a little bit out of shape on the exit of turn 10. Unfortunate there for Oscar, loses a bit of ground to Ryzen, but that 3-second time penalty now for the Bravo Racing Club driver means everything for a 1-2 finish for the Shazoo Cedar Igniters appearance of Oscar and Volokongan here. As Predestinato still holding on to the back of Ostu in this race, as the train goes all the way down towards in 10th place. Wards gearing up to jump up 3 positions up at the P7 with no penalties to his name. He does have DRS, so he will close back and he's not going to lose ground. Caden on those medium compound tyres could be a very interesting component in this battle for P5, in this train for P5. A very interesting component indeed, because the medium tyres will allow him to close up to these guys up ahead. He does have a time penalty, so Ward's probably not really going to fight it as much as you would think. Agonize and Ego, oh, big contact there, as it looks like Agonize there just getting a little bit out of shape. Ego also a little bit out of shape, a little bit ghosting as well between the pair of them. But Agonize looking threatening here for Ego's race, as Ego just about stays ahead of the FRT man, of course, former ETA driver in Agonize, now driving for FRT. We're going to see what is going to happen here. The battle in the midfield is where the action seems to be for right now, as it looks like Igor really trying now to get away from Agonize, as he's going to try to apply the pressure onto Predestinato here, who is happy to sit in behind Osku down the start finish straight with DRS. The gap between these guys and Kevin Zumberg, 7.2 the gap. As there you see in the background, Caden on the back of Wards now on those medium compound tyres. This will be the interesting wild card in this battle right now, as Knight picks himself up a 3-second time penalty also in this race. Keeping it penalty free is definitely what you need to be doing, because right now if a safety car was to be deployed, those with no time penalties to their name would gain massively. Combo right now, if a safety car was to be deployed, Combo would be looking at a top 6 finish here, and that goes to show what it means to keep it penalty free. here in Qatar. Unfortunately, Ryzen was unable to do so, so that's put a 1-2 in the hands of Shazoo Cedar Igniters, as Oscar and Volakongan all they need to do is keep it penalty free, and they're on for a 1-2 finish. Kevin Zumberg right now in no man's land in P4. He's staying well clear of this battle for P5, as you got Oscar leading Predestinado, and then of course you got Ego in 7th place, Agonized in 8th, as he's looking to put on the pressure to Ego in this race. But he's not close enough. But someone who might be close enough is Caden on those medium compound tyres down the inside. He'll go on Ward's job done. Oh, a little bit of a snap on the exit of turn 1 for Caden, but he does maintain the position. And now Caden on those medium compound tyres can try to carve his way now through the field of the guys up ahead. 5 lap old mediums versus 11 lap old hards, as we got a little bit of a lag spike there, unfortunately, as Oscar and Predestinado momentarily trading positions. But all eyes on this man, the man in P10, absolutely flying since making that pit stop onto a set of the medium compound tyres. Lap 23 of 29. Oscar leads the way ahead of Ryzen in 2nd place. Volakongan there in 3rd. Is those 3 for the podium, but it's looking like it's going to be a Shazoo Cedar Igniters 1-2 as long as they keep it penalty free. Ryzen with that 3-second time penalty will drop to 3rd in that fight. As here goes Caden now on the ERS. Here comes the DRS. He has the grip on the mediums. He's going to pull to the inside of Leora. Down the inside he'll go. Job done up into P9. Will go Caden, and will the order be given now for Agonized to let his teammate go and attack these 3 ahead? As in fact, look at that, Agonized down the inside of Ego. Job done there for Agonized, as that might open the door now for Caden. Caden down the inside in towards turn 10, tries to use the grip of the mediums to get the better traction on the exit, and he's just not going to have the traction there on the inside. The outside line is where the traction was found for the ET8 man. Sorry, that was through turn 6, not turn 10. My apologies, as we come through 8 and 9 now in towards turn number 10. As big snap on the exit for Ego, and that's going to allow Agonized to break away from Ego just a little bit. Rappy X with another 3-second time penalty to his name. His race unfortunately went from bad to worse early on, having to make a very early pit stop. Both Ego and Caden there, as in fact Ego going very wide on the exit of the final corner, and they are going to drag race down in towards turn number 1. But Caden on the medium's going to try to send it on the inside. Little room there, but they're still side by side on the exit. Here goes Caden around the outside on the mediums, and it should be job done. It is job done. Caden now up into P8 ahead of Ego. Ego now in the clutches of Leora and Wards in the tail end of the top 10, as Agonized and Caden are on a charge. Agonized now up into P7, Caden up into P8, and it looks like Agonized looks to put the pressure on Predestinado. The gap between this train and Kevin down to 6.8 seconds. Agonized with another 3-second time penalty. That is big. And now Agonized will fall away from this battle, I'm sure of it, by the end of this race. But will he let his teammate in Caden go? Caden does have an opportunity of not only potentially getting ahead of his teammate here now on penalties, but Caden with the medium tyres possibly could get himself ahead of Predestinado and Ostu, and they could maybe close in a little bit more on Kevin Zumberg, because Kevin right now has a gap of 3.3 seconds to work with. That's the gap that Kevin has to work with. 3.3 seconds. He has a 3-second time penalty. There goes Agonizo on Predestinato. Not what the Bravo Racing Club driver wants to be pressed and hounded by the FRT man. Agonized late into this race, really coming alive, showing some real pace here and trying to get something happening going on in this midfield battle. He's hustling and hounding now the Bravo Racing Club driver of Predestinato. And Kevin Zumberg, another 3-second time penalty. Now the gap is half a second between Oxcrew and Kevin Zumberg. Ladies and gentlemen, it is all to play for now for P4. That 6 seconds that Kevin Zumberg now has put him under serious pressure to the ET8 and Bravo Racing Club driver in behind. No penalties for either Oxcrew or Predestinato. And that means that all these two need to do is get themselves within 6 seconds of Kevin, and they're climbing an extra position, as it looks like now. Lap 27 of 29. It looks like they're seeing what is going to happen with that the 6 seconds. Oxcrew now within 6 seconds of Kevin Zumberg as he's trying to push us. Leora and Eagle, they're battling out in towards turn number 1, and of course Leora are now ahead of Eagle as we see the split happen as Caden and Agonize along with Predestinato and Oxcrew have dropped the likes of Leora, Eagle and Wards. This is not good for Wards because Wards with no time penalties. He wants to stay within 3 seconds of Caden in this race, but now Eagle 1 second off the back of Leora might see the TF10 driver not be close enough come the end of the race to jump up ahead of Caden here, but we'll find out here as we go through the final couple of laps. As it looks like Rappy going for the fastest lap of the race. He's come out the pit lane on the set of the soft compound tyres, so he will have the final lap to go for the fastest lap and pick up that all important fastest lap point. It could be crucial for him come the end of the season. Every point does matter, especially early on. Penultimate lap of the race. Oscar leads the way as he was the pole sitter and he is the race leader and has been the race leader for quite some time. But look at that, Agonize now gonna look to try and make a move on Predestinato, and this is not what Predestinato needs, because right now there's an opportunity for Predestinato to get P4 in this race. That is what Predestinato is looking at here. He's looking at a potential P4 finish, which would be huge for Bravo Racing Club. But he's got FRT Agonize really putting the pressure on him, and he's making him lose touch to the ET8 driver of Oxcrew up ahead, which is not ideal because Predestinato needs to finish ahead of Oxcrew here. As that's Eagle out of the race, retires on the exit of turn 10. Eagle out of the race, down the order he'll go. Heartbreak for Eagle, and there goes Rising now up into the race lead, but I'm sure both Shazoo Cedo Igniters drivers will be very happy with that. This is where the battle is going to be though. Predestinato with DRS, he does not have the ERS to go for the he will go for the move around the outside the turn number 1. Tries to look for a tighter line on the exit of Oxcrew, and is he going to get it done? No, it looks like the ET man holds off the Bravo Racing Club driver, and crucially Kevin Zumberg now has half a second to play with and more ERS as well, so we should be seeing Kevin holding on, but Agonize now really putting the pressure on Predestinato here in this middle sector, as we saw Wards pick up another 3 second time penalty. Not ideal for him, but we're going to go on board with the guys at the front in Ryzen, who will take the win out on track, but it will be a Shazoo Cedar Igniters 1-2 with Oscar leading his teammate Volakongan across the line. Rappy does get the fastest lap of the race. It will be Ryzen who takes victory out on track, but it will be Oscar who takes victory with the 3-second time penalties. Volokongan in second place. A 1-2 for Shazoo Cedar Ignite as Ryzen will come through in P3. Then of course we got Kevin Zumberg holds on to P4 as Ostu, the ET8 man, will get himself ahead of Predestinato. Caden will come through in P7. And it looks like Agonize potentially run out of fuel coming towards the line. He drops down to P10 behind Ward's Leroy Combo there in 11th place. Callum down to 13th as Ortiz jumps up to 12th. Philippe Fragzak there in 14th. Justin picking up the final point paying position in 15th. And then we'll see who will pick up the fastest lap between Knight and Rappy. Rappy currently has the fastest lap of the race, but Knight is going for it right now. So let's see if the Alien Motorsports driver will snatch the fastest lap of the race ahead of the Evolution Racing Team drivers, Rappy X, as we come to the line now with AMS Knight. And it is going to be the fastest lap of the race for Knight, taking the final point away from Rappy, as Rappy unfortunately not going to be able to do that as he goes off the track. Crashes out actually before hitting the line, so he doesn't see the checker flag, does Rappy X. Unfortunately for him, he just could not get that fastest lap of the race in the end. But a Shazoo Cedar Ignite as 1-2 finish. Oscar ahead of Volokongan. What a result for the team, and huge in terms of the championship implications, as they are clearly now going to be taking the top step in the championship. Oscar does get the race win with the fast lap going to Knight. Driver of the day was voted by the in-game fans to Caden. Most overtakes go to Agonize, and the cleanest driver of course goes to Oscar. But let's run you through the order one more time. Here it is, of course, Oscar taking the win ahead of his teammate Volokongan in second place. Rising there in third with Kevin Zumberg in fourth. Oscar in fifth with Predestinato in sixth. Caden in seventh with Leoria in eighth. Ninth is TF10 Wards, and Agonize completing the top 10. Outside the top 10, we got Combo in 11th, Ortiz in 12th, Callum in 13th, Philippe Fragzak in 14th, and the final point paying position goes to Justin in 15th. Fastest lap of the race goes to Knight in 16th, and then our non-finishers were Rappy X, Igor, Lupin, and of course Langman in the end. What a race that was here in Qatar. Absolutely fantastic from Oscar, Volokongan, and of course Ryzen in terms of the pace that they all had. But yeah, in the end, it was just that time penalty that came undone there for Ryzen. Drops him from the race of victory down to P3. It'll be interesting to see if anyone does have any warnings they feel that they got unjustly maybe forced off track and maybe picked up a warning through that. It will be interesting to see if anything will change within the stewards reports, and of course anything getting reported. But for right now, it is a Shazoo Cedar Ignite as 1-2 finish. And of course, a reminder of where we'll be going to next week. Of course, it is Suzuka. It is the Japanese Grand Prix around the only figure of 8 circuit on the F1 calendar. A personal favorite circuit of myself. I do love Japan, so I am very much looking forward to it. Have a good chance of some mixed conditions as well in terms of the weather. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. That is for sure. But I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to the stream and following the action out on track. And of course, staying tuned to the end. Of course, finally, before we wrap things up here tonight, a quick message from our sponsors, of course, to Pivot Media, the marketing agency offering graphic and video designers to elevate your brand or businesses. Check out their X in the description down below. And of course, to Virtual Setup Engineer, the brand new setup shop for all your setup needs, where they offer setups for all the circuits, all the tracks, plus a custom chat box which allows you to customize the setup to your driving style. And of course, to our sponsor, of course, with Gridfinder as well. Guys, that brings an end to round number 2 here in Qatar. I have been Michael Edwards. We will see you here next week for round number 3 in Japan. But until then, guys, it is good night from myself. Good night.